February 2016. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York. A series of seemingly routine transfer requests come in. $10 million to a Sri Lankan account, $81 million to accounts in the Philippines. In total, nearly $1 billion is requested for withdrawal from the Bangladesh Central Bank's account. Within hours, $101 million vanishes without a trace. The global financial system is on high alert. This wasn't a bank robbery with guns and masks. This was a digital heist of unprecedented scale, executed with just a few keystrokes. And as investigators around the world scrambled to understand what happened, they all asked the same question: who could pull this off? The answer would lead them down a rabbit hole of state-sponsored hackers, shadowy middlemen, and the simple spelling mistake that prevented the biggest bank robbery in history from being even bigger. This is the story of the billion-dollar cyber heist. To understand how this happened, we need to go back, not to a specific person, but to a specific group, the Lazarus Group, believed to be a state-sponsored cybercrime collective from North Korea. Lazarus wasn't your typical hacker group. They were a sophisticated, patient, and highly disciplined digital army. For years, they built a reputation not just as cybercriminals, but as pioneers. They were the architects behind some of the most daring cyber operations of the decade. They weren't just after money, they were after chaos, disruption, and proving their capabilities on the world stage. Their targets were global institutions, media companies, defense contractors, and financial giants. They operated with a level of precision that earned them a grudging respect, even among cybersecurity experts. They were ghosts in the machine, and for a long time, they seemed untouchable. They weren't just trusted by their handlers, their success made them a force to be reckoned with. They were the digital equivalent of a SEAL team, and their next target was the heart of the global banking system itself. So, how did they do it? How do you just walk into a central bank and take $100 million? Well, you don't. The heist began nearly a year earlier, with a simple phishing email sent to several employees of the Bangladesh bank. It looked harmless, like a job application from a man named Rasul Alam. An employee downloaded the attached resume, and that was it. The door was open. A tiny, malicious piece of code silently installed itself onto the bank's network. For months, the hackers just watched. They were like burglars who had already picked the lock, but instead of rushing in, they sat across the street, learning the family's schedule, noting when they left for work, when the dog was walked, where the valuables were kept. They mapped the bank's entire digital infrastructure. They learned the procedures, the passwords, and the exact process for making international transfers through the SWIFT network, the global messaging system banks use to move trillions of dollars every day. But wait, there's a crucial piece of the puzzle. Just having access wasn't enough. They needed to cover their tracks. The bank used a physical printer to create a paper record of every single SWIFT transfer. The hackers couldn't just delete the digital records, they had to stop the paper trail too. So, they created a specific piece of malware designed to do one thing: intercept the printer's commands. When they initiated their fraudulent transfers, their malware would simultaneously corrupt the printer system, making it impossible to print the confirmations. To the bank employees, it would just look like a typical printer jam, a minor annoyance on a Friday afternoon. It was the digital equivalent of cutting the security camera feed right before you walk into the vault. This wasn't just a smash and grab, it was a symphony of deception, planned with military precision. Finally, the day arrived. Thursday, February 4th, 2016. The timing was perfect. It was the end of the workday in Dhaka, Bangladesh. As the weekend began there, the business day was just starting in New York. This created a crucial time lag. The hackers began submitting their transfer requests, 35 of them in total, aiming for $951 million. They were moving money from the Bangladesh Bank's account at the New York Fed to various accounts in the Philippines and Sri Lanka. The first few transfers went through smoothly. $81 million moved to accounts in the Philippines, another $20 million to Sri Lanka. The system was working exactly as the hackers had designed it. The money was flowing, the printers were jammed, and no one was the wiser. It was the perfect crime, happening in slow motion across 3 continents. They were on the verge of pulling off a billion-dollar score. But then, a fatal mistake. A stroke of incredible luck for the bank and a disaster for the hackers. One of the transfers, the $20 million one heading to Sri Lanka, was routed through a German bank. The destination was a non-profit called the Sri Lanka Foundation. But the hackers had made a typo. They misspelled Foundation as Fandation. This tiny error, a single letter, triggered an automatic flag at the German bank, which then contacted the Bangladesh bank for clarification. At the same time, the sheer volume and high value of the requests to the private accounts in the Philippines raised red flags at the New York Fed. They put a block on the remaining 30 transactions, worth $850 million. The game was up by the time the Bangladesh bank employees came in on Saturday morning and discovered the printer malfunction and the frantic messages from New York. The panic set in. The alarm bells were ringing across the globe. The aftermath was pure chaos. Investigators from Bangladesh, the US, and private cybersecurity firms descended on the case. The digital breadcrumbs led them straight to the Lazarus Group. While the $850 million was saved and the $20 million to Sri Lanka was recovered thanks to the spelling error, the $81 million sent to the Philippines had already vanished. It was a masterclass in money laundering. The funds were immediately withdrawn, converted into casino chips, gambled with, and then converted back into cash, effectively washing it clean. It disappeared into the murky world of junket operators and offshore accounts. The speed was breathtaking. The money hit the accounts on a Friday. By Monday, it was gone, scattered to the winds. Arrests were made in the Philippines and Sri Lanka. But these were just the middlemen, the small fish. The architects of the heist, the Lazarus Group, remained in the shadows, likely already planning their next operation. So what's the lesson here? This heist was a terrifying wake-up call for the entire global financial industry. It showed that the biggest threat to our money isn't a gunman in a ski mask, but a line of code written thousands of miles away. It revealed how vulnerable our interconnected systems are, where a single click on a bad link in one country can lead to a $100 million loss in another. It proved that in the digital age, the bank vaults are no longer made of steel, but of software. And the robbers are no longer armed with dynamite, but with keyboards. The story of the Bangladesh bank heist isn't just a tale of a crime, it's a stark warning. As technology gets more sophisticated, so do the criminals who exploit it. And sometimes, the only thing standing between financial stability and absolute chaos can be a simple spelling mistake. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world as most incredible stories. Let me know in the comments what you think was the most shocking part of this heist. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.